Hey everyone, me Kevin here. We've got to talk about evictions. This is very important, so we're going to start with this right away. We're going to hit some of the other topics. This came up in a private live stream, actually, that we were having with course members, and there was a question about, hey, if I evict a tenant, if you're a landlord, or if you're a tenant and you get evicted, can you get the housing assistance, the rental assistance? Remember, you can get homeowner assistance. If you're a homeowner, you're behind on payments. That's separate from mortgage forbearance. If you're a landlord, you can get landlord assistance. If you're a tenant, you can get tenant assistance. And if you're behind on utility payments, you can get utility payments. The point of the program there is to prevent you from being homeless, though, or getting evicted. So if a landlord evicts a tenant, you basically throw out of the window the opportunity to apply for up to 12 months of back rent payments from the government and up to 6 months of rent payments going forward and back utility payments on top of that. Like the housing assistance programs that were already passed and reiterated in this last third stimulus package, which now provide for over $50 billion of housing aid and relief, are huge. The biggest issue is if you are a landlord or you are a tenant, you got to be proactive. You got to go to your county. You got to call your local housing and urban development, call your local real estate communities, call your state Department of Real Estate, call the county operator, like call somebody in your area, or start Googling for housing and rental assistance in your area to make sure you take advantage of this. So if you're a landlord and you're thinking about evicting somebody, remember, if you kick somebody out, you're giving up that you could be getting 12 months of back rent from the government. Because once they're out, then it's not really tenant relief anymore to prevent them from becoming homeless because they're already kicked out. So keep that in mind. If you're a landlord, that's a big deal. If you're a tenant and a landlord is threatening to evict you, this is the perfect thing for you to say to your landlord. Like, don't evict me. Let's figure out how to take advantage of this program together. One of the things that I mentioned when we first started talking about this housing and rental relief is that it's going to be very important that tenants and landlords work together. And I completely think that is even more important and pressing now than ever before. You got to work together to be able to get this housing and rental relief. Very, very important. Now, remember, if you do get unemployed, you can get COBRA payments covered for up to 6 months. And Congress did include a provision for up to $7,000 in funeral reimbursements. So make sure you keep your receipts. Unfortunately, if that happened, my condolences. But just focusing on the practical matter here, there is a provision in the bill that FEMA will be reimbursing up to $7,000 of funeral expenses if there was a death related to COVID. Also, I want to just touch on refinancing the EIDL, and let's hit some of the other craziness that's going on. So remember, we've got three things when it comes to small business support. We've got the PPP, round 1 and 2, which remember, you can now, even if you lost money, you can now apply for the PPP because you can use gross income. So you got the PPP, then you've got the EIDL, which the EIDL can be broken down into the grant or the loan. The grant does not have to be repaid. Not even if you got the PPP, like you get to keep that grant separately, new rule. And now, if you got the loan was technically not forgivable, but if you get a PPP loan, you can now refinance your EIDL into your PPP loan and then get your PPP loan forgiven, which basically means you can get the free EIDL money too, which is crazy. So if you have an EIDL loan, keep that in mind as well. Then, regarding, let's see. Okay, so that's PPP. We've touched on COBRA. I think we touched on COBRA. 6 months of COBRA gets paid for by the government now. So if you lose your job, 6 months of COBRA gets paid for by the government now as part of the stimulus package. We know that unemployment pay is getting extended through September 6th. And we know that there are still a lot of frustrations about when is the IRS going to finally provide guidance on getting that $10,200 in tax-free, essentially, income, or to be able to say you did not get up to $10,200 in unemployment payments so that you don't have to pay the taxes on that. We're still waiting on IRS guidance on that. So Brian here in the chat asks, I have an EIDL loan. How do I do that? You got to apply for the PPP. So if you've already applied for round 1, you would have to be eligible for round 2 to be able to get it. However, if you didn't apply for the PPP yet, you want to make sure ASAP you apply for the PPP. And then there's a box that'll ask you when you're doing your calculations, do you have an outstanding EIDL loan? And if you answer yes, they'll ask you for the balance. And then when you submit how much of a PPP loan you're going for, they will incorporate into that amount or add to that amount your EIDL loan to try to get that forgiven for you. So, I mean, the amount of free money the government is trying to give out is absolutely insane. Like, in some sense, like for people struggling, it's a really good thing. For people who aren't struggling, they're like, oh my God, look at all this money printing. Yeah, no, there's a lot of money around. And this is why you want to be prudent with all of these different opportunities you can get money. And refinancing your EIDL loan, come on, that's free freaking money. Get that PPP. That's why I say if you're a small business, you got 1099s prior to February 15th, 2020. No reason for you not to be getting that PPP. So then we do also have a couple of other updates. First, there's this talk about trying to eliminate the $350 billion in state and local government funding. This is because attorneys from places like Arizona, Georgia, West Virginia, and like I think 17 or 18 other states are basically saying, hey, whoa, hey, look, in your stimulus package, y'all gave $350 billion to state and local governments. And now in that, you're putting in verbiage that says, we don't want you to be able to lower your taxes, essentially, the way the rules get read. And if states can't lower their taxes, like there's some states that are like, wait a minute, we already had plans to lower our taxes. And now you're saying if we take the state and local government funding, we can't lower our taxes? Like, that's totally stepping on states' rights' toes. And so there's a big push right now. We're probably going to see more attention on this, of basically Republican lawmakers lawyering up and potentially filing a lawsuit against the Biden administration for the stimulus package, even though Republican lawmakers in like the House and Senate had part to do in passing this. But there's talk about this potential lawsuit to hold up the $350 billion going to certain states and localities because of the restrictions on reducing taxes in the future. And I mean, on one hand, it makes sense. Like if the government's giving you $50 billion, let's say, maybe not that much, but if they're giving you, say, $10, $20 billion as a state, then it makes sense that the federal government's like, okay, but we don't want you to just spend that on basically lowering your taxes. But apparently the way this was written creates some issues for actually being able to use the funding in the event states were actually already preparing to lower taxes. I wish California would consider lowering their taxes. We'll see. Anyway, other questions here. So you're going to see drama on that. Keep that in mind. For right now, it's mostly drama. Question here. I mailed my 2019 tax return in January. I filed my 2020 Feb 1, but it's still processing. Will you get the third stimulus? Well, one way or another, you will get your third stimulus check, one way or the other. Worst case scenario, you're going to have to wait until next year. Now, your mail 2019, those things are probably in a box somewhere. The IRS is way behind on mail tax returns. Now, regarding your Feb 1 filing of your 2020, I wouldn't be surprised if that's already been looked at, because to me, it seems like you were one of the first people to file, because I didn't think people could file until like February 13th this year. So if you submitted that early and you're processing, I would imagine you're included in the batch of folks they're looking at for eligibility for stimulus checks. We don't know because the IRS is a little, closed-handed on that. But look, they want to use 2020 as eligibility. They want to know the most recent data on people so they can provide relief where it's needed. Think about it. Government's like, we want people who are suffering now to get the stimulus checks. Of course, they would do, in my opinion, they would try to do anything they could to try to get your 2020 data, because that's going to show, did you make more money or less? Do you need it or not? So I would be optimistic for you, or I am optimistic for you. All right, let's see here. I'm having problems with the bank. I got my first PPP loan. Okay. I got approved by the SBA. They then kicked it back saying there were new rules. I used new rules when I submitted. Now back to pending. Yeah, it's possible that your bank is just overwhelmed by all the rule changes. A lot of the recent PPP applications have been going through a couple delays because of all these new rule changes. Biden administration had a big rule change package that's like, and I want to say the rule changes were like 30 or 40 pages long. I have it somewhere. It doesn't matter really for me to pull it up. I did a video on some of the changes, like the gross income and net income calculations, and a lot of banks are going through that. You could actually see that if you go into, type into YouTube, Meet Kevin, PPP changes, and you should see that video come up recently from about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So it doesn't surprise me that there might be some kind of delay there. Okay, let's see what else. Anyone? Okay, can I reapply with a new bank? It's difficult because technically it doesn't matter which bank you submit it through. It ultimately goes to the SBA. And so there is now, or a lot of banks rather, are now asking you to check a box, have you applied with another lender? And then they're not allowing you to apply at multiple lenders anymore. So that could be complicating. In the past, we had, you were pretty much able to just apply for the PPP with like 3 or 4 different lenders, and then whoever got you through is the one you used. They've kind of cleaned that up a little bit, which I don't blame them for cleaning that up, but yeah. So I filed Feb 21, but they sent the money to my 2020 new bank info. Good for you. See, so that's an optimistic sign. Thank you for sharing that. That's great. So yeah, okay, what else do we have here? So then there's obviously the big infrastructure push that's being talked about right now in the Senate. And there's talk coming up again about potentially breaking the filibuster. Remember, the filibuster is a rule that in the Senate, bills can only pass with 60 votes with certain exceptions. And those exceptions are budget reconciliation, federal judge nominations and confirmations, and Supreme Court justice confirmations. Those only require a simple majority or 51 votes. Now, technically, bills only require 51 votes to pass as well, but because of the filibuster process, you can't really debate or end debate on a bill until you have 60 votes. And that is a process called cloture, where you invoke cloture with 60 votes and end debate on a topic. And this is why Republicans have a lot of power to say, look, if you want to get through infrastructure, you want to get through an immigration bill, you need to talk to us about it, because we don't think you can get it through reconciliation. This is where Democrats are now bringing up the idea again of potentially breaking the filibuster and just saying, fine, we'll just change the rules and kill the filibuster, which Chuck Schumer purposefully made sure he had the opportunity to do. Now, Joe Biden does not want the filibuster to break, because it could potentially be a disaster if they lose the Senate in 2023, right? So, and it sets kind of a rough precedent of even more vitriol between Republicans and Democrats. So Joe Biden doesn't want to see the filibuster get broken. A lot of moderate Democrats like Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema do not want to see the filibuster get broken and removed, though I think those threats are floating around because Chuck Schumer really left the door open to potentially killing the filibuster. Mitch McConnell's already having a hissy fit over this potential. He basically vows to retaliate if the filibuster gets removed. He's already blamed or called the infrastructure plan that Biden is proposing a Trojan horse for tax increases, that it's basically a tax increase bill dressed up as an infrastructure bill. You've got Senator John Barroso, who says, he's the number 3 House Senate Republican, by the way. He says, the White House and President Biden are talking about raising taxes. This would be the most significant tax-raising piece of legislation in the last 20 years under the guise of infrastructure. And then he goes on to talk about how Republicans will not partner with Democrats on anything related to climate change. Like, Republicans seem right now pretty dug in on no climate change. Now, we'll see. I mean, technically, Democrats only need 10, and there's the argument that maybe they can pass another infrastructure, immigration, or minimum wage bill through budget reconciliation, maybe with different verbiage on minimum wage, since the first time the budget or Senate parliamentarian rejected that option. We'll see. We shall see. Okay, so other questions that we have here. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, it's a tax on currency. You know, I know there's a lot of talk about how this maybe $1.9 trillion package has diluted the dollar. It's very weird, though, because it's very, very complicated how technically you can print this money, and in some sense, you don't necessarily have to see inflation if the economy really picks up steam like economists project that it might. When it becomes a really big issue is when spending becomes very wasteful. And so that's obviously very, very debatable. But there's not that one-to-one correlation between print money and inflation. As much as we'd like to think there is, it's so freaking complicated. And I study it every single day. I'm fascinated by it. I can't wait to see what happens. But let's see. Other questions here. Okay, other questions. Okay. Well, thank you for the donations here. Bitcoin mooning. Well, let's see what Bitcoin is right now, because Bitcoin did sell off a little bit. We had sort of the buy the rumor, sell the news on Bitcoin, where Bitcoin really shot up the day stimulus checks started coming out. And yeah, Bitcoin is moving up right now from a low of about 54,000-ish to around 57,100 at the time of this recording. Kevin, I was denied by Bluevine. And I was in review since Feb. Then after the $1.9 trillion bill was signed, I got an email asking me for my financials again. Then I was denied. So you applied twice and got denied twice? Why are they denying you, James? What's going on? Give me a little bit more color on that one. If I did my 2020 tax return for the first time alone as a dependent, will I get my $1,400 stimulus check? No. So the problem is you don't see that money. If you are a dependent and you're filing yourself, the person who's claiming you as a dependent, they get the check. If you're filing your own tax return and you want the check yourself, you got to file as an independent filer. You're not your own dependent. You're just really reporting income is all you're doing, which, I mean, that's what you do with a tax return after all. But I'm on VA disability and don't typically qualify for the child tax credit. Is there anything in the bill about people like me that are non-filers to get this? My understanding is that you will be eligible or should be eligible for, well, hold on. Let me clarify this because I just reread your statement here. If you generally don't qualify for the child tax credit, I don't know that I've seen anything specifically carved out to say that you might be eligible for this one. And so that gets a little bit complicated. There will be the portal in June, but that's a very good question. I can pull up the stimulus package really quick and I can go to that section. We can find it. So I'll answer a few more questions in the meantime while I pull this up. But that's a really good question. The child tax credit section is not that large, so we can get that. Okay, I've got the bill, child tax credit. So I'll circle right back to that. I keep hearing YouTubers say that you can get PUA and PPP. This is true because PPP is a loan and it's forgivable, and because stimulus money is free money. The F? Okay, so here's how that works. Yes, you can get unemployment and the PPP. However, you cannot pay yourself PPP money at the same time as you are receiving unemployment benefits. So the way that works is you apply for the PPP while you're on unemployment. Then when you get the PPP, you allocate, okay, I'm going to use this money from, let's say, April 1st for 8 weeks through May 31st. You have to stop taking unemployment on April 1st, pay yourself through those 2 months with the PPP, and then you can go back on unemployment if you need to, if necessary. Okay, let's look at that. A very, very good question here on the VA. So let's look at this here. Child tax credit. So here's the bill. And so what we're looking for is potential eligibility here for, so this is income, this is ages, this is how much you get, the phase outs. We're going to go a little fast here because it's live. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but what you can do, the cool thing is you can pause, since I'm kind of showing every screen here, and you could give it a read yourself. So I'm just doing a quick skim here to see if there's any kind of headline on veterans or people who maybe don't otherwise qualify for the child tax credit. Authority of intervals. We've got the portal, waiver of certain rules. Could be in some of these waivers. This is garnishments right here. And these things get messy, these bills. So you have a very, very good question. Reconciliation of the credit. In other words, if you get overpaid, you have to pay the money back. Safe harbor. This is unlike the stimulus check where you get it and you don't deserve it. You got to pay it back. Coordination with wage withholding. Advance payment of child tax credit. Carry out payments. Effective date. Application of child tax credit in possessions. Coordination with low income. Okay, so this will help you determine for qualifying for other benefits. Okay, general American Sonoma. We talked about Puerto Rico here. I do not see anything. Then we're on the earned income tax credit. I don't see anything carved out for VA here. I could have missed it, but based on my brief little skim there, I don't see any special provision carved out for you there. So if you don't ordinarily qualify for the child tax credit, you probably, just based on just looking at that right here, I didn't see something on being able to qualify when you ordinarily don't qualify. Although I don't also know why you wouldn't ordinarily qualify. So maybe that would take a little bit more reading. Good question, though. Very good question. Listed my house today. Signed a contract just now. Congratulations. You got a buyer really fast. That would be interesting if it does reduce. Yeah, check regarding food stamps. Go back to the third. I think it's like the third or fourth to last page there, and that's where they talk about how this would affect you on other income benefits. In fact, here's another question about that. So it would take me a moment here to really dig it. I want to answer a few more questions here, but if you pause on those screens, you'll be able to. Hold on. Yeah, it would take me a little bit of time to read through that section. Very good question, but you saw those pages, so you can pause on each of those. So I applied once in Feb and have been in review until the new bill passed. Tasks I needed to complete. Yeah, I mean, if you have tasks you need to complete, I would try to do anything you can to complete those tasks for the PPP as soon as possible. Don't let that fall behind. You know, you really want to stay top of mind with the SBA and your bank lender. Just got in. Do we have to opt out for the tax credit? We do not need it. Yeah, you probably will have to opt out of it. It's not 100% clear yet, but there will be an opt-out section in the portal. At least that is what the package, the stimulus package says, that there will be an option for you to opt out. So, okay. So, hold on one second. Okay. Okay, so just got in. Okay, we answered that one. Good. Anyone else having payment status not available? I hate payment status not available because the problem is it's a catch-all, right? Like if you're not eligible, you also get payment status not available, which is very frustrating because it's like, well, which is it? Is it just not available or am I not eligible, right? Kevin, I would have qualified for the earned income tax credit if not for my age. I heard the age limit was reduced. Yes, there was a change in the age for the earned income tax credit. In fact, it's right here. Let's take a peek at that really quick. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. So just take a peek at this section for a moment here. Special rules for individuals without qualifying children. In the case of any taxable year beginning, so basically for 2021, a decrease in the minimum age for credit. In general, the applicable minimum age by substituting, by substituting the applicable minimum age for 25, for the purpose of this paragraph, the applicable minimum age means, oh my gosh, the way they word this is so crazy. Let's see, student age 24, in the case of former, okay, specified student. Wow. Okay. The way they word this is nuts. But yeah, there were age-related changes here. I apologize. I'm going to have to break this down and also circle back on that because it is tricky the way they've written that here. But there were age changes. You are correct about that. And that is on these pages here. So hopefully we can find that if you pause the screen on those. Sorry, I don't have the answer. They're really good questions today. Very, very good questions. Okay, I filed with TurboTax, paid with my refund for the service. I have direct deposit set. Am I going to get a stimulus from the government or TurboTax? So TurboTax has already been processing some of these. So my expectation is if you paid for their service with your refund and you have your direct deposit information set with them, it would potentially go through them. But you could also check the Get My Payment portal and see if they're indicating the last four of what account maybe this money is being deposited to lines up with maybe TurboTax's account information, or if it looks like the last part of your social security number, that could relate to your TurboTax account number. Nathan says TurboTax released a statement on that, so perfect. Might be able to pull that up exactly. Should I be contacting Bluevine? Yeah, I mean, I would try. I mean, contact both of them. You know, James, if you're stuck on a PPP, don't give up. Contact both of them. Hey, this is where I am in the process. I got denied, but then I got an email asking me for more information. What do you need? I want to make it happen today. I want to be part of this program. Call both of them. Absolutely. So William says you've tried to file for the PPP but can't get through. Where are you trying to file? And I would maybe recommend, if you haven't tried yet, go to metkevin.com/VEEM. So metkevin.com/VEEM, not affiliated, not sponsored. That's just an easy one that I know a lot of people are interested in or have used and have had success with. My S-Corp taxes came in before my employee taxes. Gotcha. The IRS doesn't have the best. The IRS and customer service? No kidding. I filed my taxes. I was supposed to get 10K and I ended up getting 3K back. Yikes. So this could be a mistake in filing. There could be a confusion with something that was filed. So I would definitely talk to whomever you filed your taxes with about trying to get that fixed. To clarify, I don't qualify typically because I'm a non-filer, don't have earned income, not because I'm too high of income. Right, exactly. Yeah. That's regarding the child tax credit. Really excellent question. So I want to get to the bottom of the earned income tax credit with the age changes and the I do not qualify the child tax credit and not earning income because you're on VA disability. Good questions here. You know what we'll do is let's just do a quick Google on that. Maybe we can learn it together. VA disability child tax credit. Let's give it a shot. So special consideration. Okay, I don't quickly see something about that. So it's probably going to take a little bit. Okay. Might take a little more time to actually find that. And this is what drives me nuts is they make it so difficult to find some of these details. Sometimes I spend hours just trying to get to the bottom of like, wait, so you can refinance the EIDL? What about the homeowner versus evictions for tenants? It's a mess. It's a complete mess. Did someone already bring up the LiDAR Lucid announcement an hour or so ago? I was tweeting about that. Why did Lucid just mention something? Because we were just tweeting about that about an hour ago. So, but I did not see that Lucid mentioned anything about that. We'll see. Lucid. Let's see. That's a really good question. No, I don't see anything on that. So maybe share a little bit more insight with me on that one. I wonder if applying for the PPP loan, if anyone has heard of Biz to Credit. I've not heard of that. Might as well claim the loss for 7K. What is funny is I don't qualify for the stimulus payment, but it's saying I will receive the payment on the 17th. Weird. Well, here's the thing. If you believe that you don't qualify for the stimulus check, but you get it anyway, as soon as you get it, you get to keep it. And the text of the law actually specifically says if you were overpaid for stimulus money, you get to keep it, which is great. Part 2 of the rental assistance credit, wouldn't it hurt the tenant? Would it hurt the tenant to go ahead and apply for the program if she hasn't heard back from landlord yet about their participation? No. If you are a tenant, you can apply without the landlord. If you are a landlord, you need to apply with the tenant. My understanding. I was excited about eToro. I have not invested in that one, but I'm excited about that. Yeah, exactly, Nathan. They're making that very difficult, trying to find information for people with dependents who don't qualify for the child tax credit ordinarily. And see, the interesting thing is they did make it an advanced tax credit, which technically means you don't, like, even if you don't owe that much money in taxes, you can still get the child tax credit, which kind of implies that somebody with zero income should be able to get it. But that gets very, very complicated. And so I don't want to talk about that. Oh, yeah, Amir. So Alex and I were tweeting about that back and forth. It's actually a 2017 update. So it's not like a recent announcement. It's from 2017. But yeah, we were just talking about that. You can follow me on Twitter at RealMeKevin. Kevin, my girlfriend's 18. She did her taxes 2020 independently and got her stimulus. But now for the $1,400, her status says unavailable. Well, I'm a little confused because you said she got the stimulus. I mean, if you got the stimulus, who cares if it says payment status unavailable, right? Your girlfriend's 18. She did her taxes 2020 independently and got her stimulus. But now for $1,400. So are you talking about maybe the $600 she got? She hasn't gotten the $1,400 yet. I would wait on that one maybe a few days. But to me, I'm optimistic that if you qualified for the first one, your income hasn't changed, and you're still filing independently, it should come the same way. Putting up your first house for rent. Good for you, Adam. Awesome. Trying to get started in real estate from watching your video. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, Muddy Waters. No kidding. Classic, right? So do you think we will be able to buy the real estate dip soon within a couple of years due to the circumstances? I have a 29-minute answer for you, and it's very, very detailed. I highly encourage you to watch it. Look at my video from yesterday, the 2021 housing crash and mortgage crisis. Very good video, in my opinion. And I'm complimenting my own video here, obviously, right? But okay, good. Very good questions. I'm going to see if I can do some research on some of these other questions. Those are both hard questions. And so I'm going to see what I can do to get to the bottom of those. But in the meantime, thank you very much. By the way, to especially all of you who have reached out and said, Kevin, please extend that coupon code, that 38% off coupon code. I literally woke up to like 50 of you saying, hey, I'm getting this check on the 17th. I'm getting it on the 19th. Can you wait on the 38% off coupon code expiring? So you could still use that coupon code HODL just for a few more days. Link down below just because of the stimulus checks coming in. And so many of you asking, so I appreciate y'all. Okay, folks, thank you so very much for being here. I believe softwares like TurboTax will update the $10,200 when the IRS figures out what they want to do about it. Thank you so very much for being here, folks. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.